Welcome home, family. Welcome back to the channel. So, for today's video, it felt important to me to talk on a subject which earlier in this day had triggered me a little bit. So it felt even more prominent to speak on. I feel like that's what the intuition was telling me, was just get out, film a video and see what comes through. Because a lot of the time, I think and this is why I would usher anyone who considers doing this sort of thing to just go for it. Because beyond, as much as I feel it feels very important to get a message out there, and I love the idea that me just speaking my words can somehow help and inspire another person. That is amazing. That sparks the fire inside. I love that. But more than anything, and I do feel it's important to focus on this aspect, is that we bring through the best healing for ourselves. That, like, our medicine for the moment, as much as it may be able to help someone else, it's obviously going to be like the most effective medicine for ourselves. So that's why I thought I would follow that intuition from spirit when it said just get out there and see what flows through you. I thought, okay, okay, I surrender. So the subject mainly just being like how we respond when another approaches us, converses with us in a way that doesn't feel appropriate to us, like it's not a way that we ourselves would respond. But I suppose I already feel it important to mention that I suppose that we've all had different experiences of life. We've all been through different things. We've all, if we've got definitions to our own words, we've certainly got our own ways of being and interacting with the world around us. So, I think most importantly, never take anything to heart. Never take anything to heart when it's said from another, and do your best to take accountability and realise, you know what? As much as I kind of disagree with the way you've presented yourself towards me in a particular scenario, ultimately, if I'm getting triggered, it's my trigger and it's my wound that's being pressed, and therefore it's something for me to look at. Whether, whether we want to hear that or not. I know I certainly didn't want to hear that 20 minutes ago or whatever, do you know what I mean? So, it feels... very important. Just focus on ourselves. And I didn't get involved in the conversation because I could feel that I was a bit triggered. So I realised that even though my point of view felt very much justified, I knew that I wouldn't be speaking from the most open and therefore the most honest of places, if you see what I mean. As much as part of me thought, you know what, I'm gonna feel better just for having a release. And plus, if you're gonna bring that energy to me, then I may as well just send it straight back on whatever level. And I think that that's quite an important part of maturity, is knowing when to keep stum. In my experience, you can always say your piece. There's in most scenarios that you'll have your time to say your piece. So it seems worth taking a moment to gather oneself and really sort of feel into where this is coming from. Like I mentioned in a previous video about noticing the energies and where we're reacting, where we're responding from. And I felt in that moment, I realized that I wasn't going to be speaking from my heart, and it wasn't going to be, as much as it very much felt like to just argue back would have been me expressing my authentic self. I realised that there's a deeper, truer aspect of myself which wanted to keep stum, hence why it did, if you see what I mean. But it felt, and I'm glad that I did overall, because it is hard when in my experience, when I feel that somebody is meeting me at a lower vibration, especially if there's like an element that I feel is rude or unnecessary, then I feel so quickly justified in be able to state my piece however I wish it to land. But I think it's all about seeing where that energy comes from, because a lot of the time when I realise it's coming from my ego and it's just so reactive, even though I might have a point, you know, like when I've regulated, I still might feel that there was an aspect of sincerity making itself known within that situation. Ultimately, I think the anger, the resistance had arisen from a pressing of my wound, you know what I mean? For me, just feeling like, what is the point in bringing this particular energy towards me without just trying to do it in a nice way. I feel like, you know, and this is something I've heard elsewhere, but like unsolicited advice giving, which, don't get me wrong, as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's me all over. Like, I need to look at this, I need to work on this, and just notice within myself when I'm trying to fix a situation in the name of helping them, but they haven't asked for that help. So therefore, you know, that's when I would deem it as unsolicited advice given, which I think, it's just important to be able to be aware of and to be able to look at and to, because I think there'll be some times when I feel like, you know what, like my heart is just, like I need to share this message. I need to just say it how it is, you know, however it's flowing through. But I feel like a lot of the times I can sort of be under the guise of feeling like I'm trying to help someone else, when in truth I'm just, you know, I'm getting a bit of a kick out of like just expressing authentically, and you know what I mean, just being able to speak my truth, which it's just not always the most appropriate medicine for the moment, I don't feel like. So I find that useful, and it's good for me to clock that with the experience that happened earlier for me today. I feel important to remind myself that we're all just doing us in whatever way we've learned to do and be. Do you know what I mean? So I think therefore, but I do feel like that we shouldn't have to hold on to things like, so again, I had to sort of check myself, because sometimes I can sort of downward spiral a bit when I feel in a position that I'm not able to speak my truth. And it's about being honest with myself and going, nah, you know what? I did have an opportunity. I've had all the thoughts of my justified point, do you know what I mean? That I was about to go through to the next, you know what I mean? And have that conversation. But then I chose to keep stum. I chose that in that moment, it wouldn't have been the healthy, expansive conversation that I was hoping for. It was going to be a bit more of a like, hang on a sec, I feel that you've triggered me, and and it just doesn't feel very fair. It just didn't feel helpful because of the energy behind it. And I think that sometimes that can be hard to explain to somebody when they're giving you advice and they say, wait, you know, I'm trying to help you here. Do you know what I mean? Just like for myself, I can, you know what I mean? I can clock that where it's tricky to know who it's for. But I think there's a lot of times when we're helping and it's for us. You know what I mean? It's not actually for the other person. So I'm finding that useful to clock. We're already getting a few realizations coming through. So it seems to be working. And I'll tell you what, like, I don't know if I'll post this one. We'll see. But I really would encourage, you know, if this does get out, I do encourage the viewer watching this, that if you have similar things and something's arising within you and it can sometimes feel a bit stagnant, a little bit blocked, you know what I mean, there's energy that needs to flow, then consider coming out into nature when you're by yourself, no one around, you know what I mean. Don't have to think about how you're being, you know what I mean, and in terms of anyone else. Be yourself and just see what comes through and talk about it. I do find that it's useful talking from a point of view that as if I was sharing this, because I feel like the release almost doesn't need to be filmed. Do you know what I mean? When we're actually triggered, if you know what I mean, and it's just a bit do you know what I mean? I don't think that necessarily I don't know, we'll see. I've never tried it, so it could be yeah, highly informative. Do you know what I mean? To be able to actually clock how my thought process act when I'm triggered, to be fair. So maybe I'll bear that in mind next time, without the intention of post. I just wouldn't want to post anything. I think is what it is. But hey, when we're talking authentic expression of self, you know, yeah, interesting. I think the point being for me that I feel that it's got to aim to help, but I suppose what Spirit's telling me quite loudly is like, through us being our authentic selves is how we best help others around us. So yeah, I've certainly taken that on board, and I will consider it next time if I feel the the motivation, if I feel the capacity next time I'm feeling worked up about something. I may try and come out mid-trigger to film a video just to see how it flows. But I tell you what, even having like say 20 minutes or whatever it was in between just gave me that little moment to regulate and to sort of clock the energy of where I was feeling quite reactive, which is why I chose not to go and have that conversation there and then, even though justified point. And I do feel like that it is important for us to have these conversations. So yeah, I'll when I feel in a with the capacity, when I feel that I've got the capacity, I will broach that conversation, because I've realized this through this this conversation sort of thing, that a lot of the time when I hold resentment towards somebody after a situation and interaction, a lot of the time when I'm feeling resentment, it's because I haven't shared my truth. And and sometimes I feel like I'm not able to share my truth, and then this is the bit where I've got to be really honest with myself and go, no, hang on a sec, like, you chose not to speak in that moment. Do you know what I mean? And I respect that choice not to speak in that moment, because I knew that I'd have just been firing off somewhat unnecessarily. Do you know what I mean? Unnecessary in the sense that clearly I was able to keep it to myself, observe what was arising within me, and then better regulate. And hopefully when that conversation gets had, it will be done in a more effective manner. More effective communication will be taking place, I hope. That's certainly my my intention with not speaking those things in the moment is more than happy to have this conversation. This does feel within me like a necessary conversation to have, but it's just about presenting how we want to present ourselves. Do you know what I mean? And not in a fake way, but just in a like what's real to you way. Do you know what I mean? Because I think sometimes in a sense we could be inauthentic, but like ultimately if I'm just getting aggy and ranting about something, I don't know, it just doesn't feel the most authentic within me. I know like one could argue that however you're being is is authenticity in motion sort of thing, but it does feel like there's truer ways of being and more illusory ways of being, and I do feel like just popping off for the sake of popping off feels so much more illusory to me, as as an energy, as a way of navigating through life. It doesn't resonate as truth. It doesn't resonate as in any sense righteous, if you know what I mean. And I think and it's important, because I feel like when we've got a point to make, I'm all for the feeling of righteousness, but it takes humility quite apparently, to be able to be honest with oneself. Otherwise it's just my way or the highway. Do you know what I mean? Like, fall in line, or you know what I mean? which ultimately that's not how I want to be holding myself. That's not how I want to be interacting with the world around me. I want to be coming from a position of peace and love in my heart, you know what I mean? So reminding ourselves of who we came here to be, I feel like ultimately is a bit of a message for today. We're seeing the synchronicities there, we're getting the go ahead. yeah, remaining true to who we came here to be. Whether that's, in all its forms of practice, do you know what I mean? Whether that's a physical practice, whether, any sort of, self-practice, but also the practice of how we interact with others around us, the family, the community, do you know what I mean? It's, it's important. It's important because I feel that ultimately we're just going to hold resentment towards ourselves when we're behaving in a way that feels unaligned with, with that path, with that direction which we have set the intention to flow towards. Do you know what I mean? So I hope that anyone watching is able to like grab something out of this. I thought, it's a bit different. And I do feel it's important to give a more sort of human side, like to show my human self, if you know what I mean, like, because I say we all, me, like, of course I want to look great. I want to, appear as if I'm able to just bring through wisdom and that I've embodied it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm constantly sort of bringing through this great stuff, but then constantly being reminded of like, now follow it. Like, just because it's spoken, it is not being embodied. And ultimately, if you're going to spend all this time speaking it through, you're going to have to spend even more time, do you know what I mean, truly sitting with these lessons in order to receive the blessings of embodiment. Do you know what I mean? So I sort of wanted to make that clear because I know that I want this to be a positive channel, so I'm definitely going to speak on things from a more light-hearted point of view, but equally sometimes the triggers feel like they want to be, expressed and shared, but in a constructive manner. Because otherwise, it can feel a bit pointless. So it does feel like everything holds its place within its designated context. Everything holds its place within its designated context. And this phrase, to me, signifies how all beliefs, all values have their place. And that when you consider them within a precise location, within a particular context, they stand within their own reasoning. And that how quickly, if you start moving their positions elsewhere, it's like a tower of cards or whatever, do you know what I mean? It falls over, it all becomes, it's not stable, it's not solid foundations. So I do believe that, acknowledging everything holds its place within its designated context helps to alleviate this, I think this aim that can sometimes feel like a battle within the mind to find one right answer, and that there, with any situation there is one solution, and all these sort of things, when life is, it's not black and white, it's multicolored, and it's the whole rainbow in between, So I do feel like, even for this situation I've been in, I feel that it feels very widely applicable to me. And I tell you what, especially in regards to triggers and certain, things that don't sit as comfortably within my vessel, reminding myself that everything holds its place within its designated context. And I'm sure I'll talk about that phrase more in another video, because there's certain phrases which is sort of like mantras, you know what I mean, that I genuinely use like mantras, but just because the way that they impact my being, I try and resonate into a state I am, and then I'll go through these and try and hear the phrases from a higher perspective, because I do find that that's very useful. Otherwise, it's not its designated context, and you know what I mean, and things start to fall apart. So but so I think I will post this one, because I feel like, come on, like we all go through triggers. That's a massive part of the ascension process, I do believe, is learning how to navigate these triggers. And it's like I'll give myself a pat on the back for the fact that I handle things most of the time a lot better than I used to. I can see the progress, do you know what I mean? And I can tell that there's an element of surrendering unto the process, and which is unfolding all around us and through us, as us, that is necessary in order to see the growth that we're truly looking for, I feel like. So Spirit's guiding me to remind us of our true power, the power of innate, that which rests within our DNA and is activated through patience and grace. Patience and grace. I feel probably two very important words to be putting into a video surrounding triggers and how we navigate. Seek the meaning of why things have happened and why they've played out how they have. And it doesn't always have to be, sunshine and rainbows, because we're humans and we have a plethora of emotions and states of being in which we can choose to dip in and out of. And I do believe that, through this ascension process, we will be rising from a lower framework of being that, will sustain. That is that it's an upward spiral effect sort of thing. But, for now, we'll, and there's all sorts of things going on, around us in the world and things like that. So, patience and grace, dear ones. Patience and grace. And may as well say dear one as if I'm speaking it to myself, honestly, because this is so important. And I truly, I for whatever it's worth, I'll put it out there now that I suppose it's just the dynamic of the teacher-student sort of thing, and because that I'm portraying this information, do you know what I mean, on this channel, that there's a bit of a teacher role, but I'm just so a student. Yes, I recognise my mastery when it's in effect, and that is beautiful. God bless. And very much a student, very much a human, very much going through this ascension process, just as we all are together collectively, So I think that's a real big push for authenticity in the acceptance of I am. And the I am that I am, and in all its many forms and shapes that it takes, that ultimately we are one being. We are source expressing itself in totality, in infinite forms. So enjoy the journey and ground and regulate when it feels necessary to do so. Speak your truth from an open heart as much as we can with the capacity that we hold in hand. And be kind where we can to our family around us, because the way they're acting and behaving makes complete sense within its designated context. And ultimately, we've got to be the change that we want to see in the world. And I don't want to see more people getting triggered, firing insults, and or even just trying to correct where one need not seek correction. Do you know what I mean? Just let people be, let people flow, and we shall all see that we reap from upon the seed of eternal growth. Eternal growth. Even though it might not feel like it in each and every moment, there is but eternal growth that we are all sailing through with grace and ease from a certain perspective, from a certain designated context. I think I'll leave it there, family, but thank you for, holding space in a way for me to be able to bring this through, honestly, for myself more than anything else. And if you've got something out of it, great. Please leave a comment if this resonates, or just, people, if you've got something to share, you've got some wisdom, you've got some truth that you want to bring through, please bring it to the comment section. I would love that. I would love that. All right, family, keep shining, stay true to who you are. One love, family. Balush, balush, balush. Woo!